it's Jennifer from Flux. Welcome back to week 4 of the 2023 Flux Spring Crochet Along. We have been hard at work at our Wisteria Trellis throw. This is a gorgeous springy throw in these lovely muted colors. It's very flexible for different decor and it's super soft. It just is lovely in a home, living room, bedroom, what have you. We have learned so far how to make the granny square, how to join them together. But for week 4, we are going to be learning how to make, and I'm going to just kind of spin it around here. We're going to be learning how to make this gorgeous border around our blanket. We have mimicked the same granny stitches as our granny squares. We're going to be doing some granny borders now, just kind of like almost like a larger granny square framing the whole thing. So this really gives your blanket a nice finished look and like a frame around it. And we'll be picking up the same colors. So we have a stripe of purple, a stripe of the taupe color, a stripe of the sage green, and so forth. So we're going to learn how to do that. We're also going to spend a little bit of time doing some finish work and taking care of the ends that we've created by making our blanket as well. So just to look back, in case you've missed any parts of our crochet along, or if you're just joining us, we had week 1. We talked about the blanket itself, kind of the sizing, the supplies needed, etc. For week 2, we learned how to make the granny square, the one granny square to start the blanket. For week 3, we did the join as you go technique and learned how to connect them all together. And for this week, again, we're going to be working on our border and some finish work. Now, all that being said, please do this at your own pace. This is meant to be relaxing, a relaxing time with your hook, making a very satisfying project. So these tutorials will be here forever. Take your time, enjoy your project, and our crochet along groups are always around. These tutorials will always be around. So if you have some more squares to add or you're just getting started, no worries at all. These tutorials will be around forever. So we're going to jump in with the last part of our tutorial, and then looking ahead, next week I always do a recap post over at the Flux blog where I take all the tutorials, all the videos, and I put them on one handy post. So if you need to revisit, it will be all on one handy post for you to check out later. And that will always be around as well. If you haven't joined our Ravelry group and our Facebook group, the links are down below. You can hang out in the crochet along communities and also use the hashtag FiberFluxCal to share your work on social media. It's always really fun to click on it and see what everybody is doing. And I love to see what the project that we're working on for each particular cal that we do. But I love to see what the project looks like in different colors. So some of you may pick neon colors, some might do pastels, some might do brights, some may do all of one color. So it's really, really fun to see what everybody's choosing. So share your work on social media using that hashtag, and when you click on it, we can see them all. So without further ado, let's move on to the tutorial part of our video where we're going to learn how to make our border and do our finish work. I will see you next week for our recap where you can get it all together. For today's tutorial, we're going to be using our same eye crochet hook. We have our blanket that we're going to add the border onto, and then I have some of the yarn. There's not a ton here, but plenty to make ourselves a nice border. So I have one of each color, and I'm going to create the border using all the colors that we used for the center of the blanket. So what we want to do is pick a color. You can pick any color you like. It's completely up to you. I'm going to go with the lavender color. And what we're going to do is choose any corner. So I'm going to go up to the corner here, and we're going to start our round in the corner. Okay, and we're going to work this first round together, and then we'll work the second round together. And then after that second round, we're doing just a really, like I mentioned last week, we're just doing like a really classic granny border. So this first one is, as you can see, there's a little bit of dipping where we made our joins. That's completely normal for these granny square blankets, and that's why putting a border on it really kind of like straightens everything out. So we're going to put our border on, and the first round is just going to kind of like set it up, and then subsequent rounds will kind of really frame it in and make it look nice and neat. So we're going to start in any corner space, and we're going to grab our yarn, and we're just going to hook the new yarn on, and we're just going to tie it into the corner. Okay, so go ahead and just tie that yarn right into the corner. And then we're going to go back in with our hook. And I'm going to zoom way in so you can see what we're doing here. We're going to go back in with our hook, bring up a loop, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll work 2 double crochets in the same corner space. This is kind of the same way we've been doing the corners all along for our squares. So work a double crochet, work another double crochet, chain 2, and then work 3 double crochet in that corner space. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Then we're going to chain 1. And we're just going to be working into these spaces. Now I'm going to show you too how to go in between these squares when you approach that too. So let's work across and I'll show you how to handle that. Okay, so we're going to hop over to that first space and we're going to work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, it's mimicking what we've been doing in our squares. Then we're going to chain 1. Then we're going to hop over to the next space and do the same thing. 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. Next space, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. Now we're at that space that I was telling you about that's in between the squares. So what we want to do for that is if you go into the corner space here or the corner space here, it's going to be kind of off center. So what we're going to do when you come to in between the squares, we're going to go into the space that's in between the squares. So you can see here we have a join where we did. So that space right under is where you want to work your 3 double crochets in that spot. Okay, so let's go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. Hop over to the next space and we're just going to work it the same way all the way across. So work 3 double crochet, chain 1 in each space, and then when you get to the area in between each of these squares, you're going to work in that space in the center, okay? So let's do this across, and then when we rejoin, we'll work this first corner down here because we're not doing a starting chain like we did here, so we'll do our corners slightly different. Okay, just coming up to this next corner here, and we're just going to do it how we did the squares. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3, okay? So you're just going to continue around, working the sides like we learned before and the corners the same way. I'm going to continue around my blanket, and when we rejoin, we'll get started on round 2, and then you'll be able to add as many border rounds as you like. Okay, just coming up to the end of the round here. And we're just going to close the round with a slip stitch, same thing we've been doing. And now we're ready for our second color of our round. So for round 2, we'll just cut the yarn and grab another color. Now you can stick with the same color. If you're sticking with the same color, you'll need to slip stitch over to that corner space, but that's what we've done for these other squares, so we've definitely practiced that already. Now just grab your second color if you want to, switch colors. And what you're going to do is go to that corner space and insert your hook into the corner space, and then you're just going to kind of hook the new yarn on, bring it through, and then just tie it into the corner space. Just like that, okay? So now just put your hook back in there, bring up the loop, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're ready to work the round. Now this round is almost exactly like the last round that we did. So let's work our first corner. We're going to work 2 double crochets because that chain 3 counts as one of our double crochets. Chain 2, same thing we did before, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now this round is actually easier because we're not going to be working in between the squares anymore. We're just going to be working into the spaces. So all the way down, you'll work into the spaces. So you'll work your 3 double crochet, chain 1 in each space across. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and chain 1, and then just do that for every space across. So you're going to work, now you can still see we're still getting a little bit of dipping, and as you work each round for your border, that will start to straighten out a little bit more. Each round you do will straighten. By the next round it should be pretty good. So you're just going to work 3 double crochet, chain 1 in each space all the way across. We don't have these in between squares anymore for this round. And then when you get to the corner, you'll do the corners the same way. Work 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and so forth. So go ahead and add your rounds. I'm going to add a couple rounds to mine. I want all my colors represented, and then I'm going to repeat them again. And so when we come back, I'll show you what progress that I've made with my border, and you can feel free to just put one single edge on there, or you can keep going like I'm going to do. So keep working your edge, and then when we come back, we'll look at kind of what we did and wrap it up a little bit. Just working that last stitch of our border, and I'm going to join to close the round with a slip stitch. Same thing we've been doing. And our blanket is complete. So we can just cut the yarn now, wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it through the loop, and just pull it through. So I'm going to get this all straightened out so you can kind of see. We just have a little bit of yarn left too from that yarn ball. So it all worked out really well. So let's open this up and kind of see what we've done here. We have our squares that we joined, and then we added this beautiful border. Now, like I mentioned before, you can really do any border you want. I did alternating colors of the square colors that I did. So I did purple, tan, green until I kind of ran out of yarn. So I'm just repeating the colors down here. Now you could do a solid border if you want more kind of a visual, heavier frame on that, but I liked the alternating colors. That worked out really well for me. So the last thing you have to do to finish your blanket is to just take care of some ends. Now, if you did motifs in lots of different colors, you'll have lots of ends. So if we flip this over to the back, you can see we have two different types of ends really here. We have some that we wove in as we went along, and we have some that we couldn't. So the ones that you wove in, like these center ones here, you can just pull those snug and give that tail a snip, just like that. For these where you sort of knotted it off, but there wasn't really an opportunity to weave that in as you went along, that happens a lot with the join as you go. What you can do is take a tapestry needle, and on the back still, take your needle, weave in your tail, and then you're just going to go in one direction with your end, and stay along these back loops here. You don't want it to go to the front. And then pull it through, and then what I like to do is just go in the opposite direction. That'll help lock that tail into place. And then you'll just repeat for all of your tails on your blanket. Okay? So go ahead and weave all of your ends in. And then when you're finished, your blanket will be ready to go. Again, this is customizable. You can make it as wide or as tall as you want. You can really customize the border. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and that concludes the instructional part of our crochet along. Now next week, we're going to have kind of a review and recap. What I like to do when we have our crochet alongs is to put all the parts of our tutorials in one handy post. So a lot of you like to remake things. For these crochet alongs, maybe you'll make a couple blankets or you want to revisit this pattern later. So I like to put it in one handy post with all the parts. So next week that'll be available. We'll get all the parts together and just have it all together and have some more photos, etc. So again, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Use the hashtag FiberFluxCal to share your work. It's really fun to see what everybody's making and what colors and how everybody's borders are going to look. Also, if you haven't joined the Ravelry group and the Facebook group, hop on over to those groups and say hello. That's a fun place to hang out if you're working on these projects. I will see you next time for our next crochet along. Will be in the summer. We're going to have a summer crochet along. It's going to be really fun and colorful. I'm planning it right now, so I can't wait to share that with you soon as summer rolls in. So pop over next week and see the recap post. And thanks so much for watching, and be sure and hit that subscribe button to get all the latest FiberFlux video updates. Thanks again.